Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi, Chief of Staff of the Israel Defense Forces, made the most explicit statement yet on a possible retaliation against Iran, despite global calls for restraint. However, he did not specify how Israel plans to respond. Israel faces the challenge of executing this retaliation without escalating the conflict, while maintaining the alliances that have been crucial in countering the attack and without deviating from its strategic goals in the confrontation with Hamas in the Gaza Strip. The Israeli War Council met for the fourth time in 2 days on Monday the 15th to explore response options. As the general laid out the military stance, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called on the international community to remain united against what he describes as an Iranian threat to global peace. On Saturday, Iran launched an attack which, according to Tehran authorities, was in retaliation for the killing of an Iranian general by Israel in a diplomatic building in Damascus, Syria. Israel's action was neither confirmed nor denied. Israel faces increasingly complex political challenges. The country is already engaged in conflicts on 3 fronts: against Hamas in Gaza, with Hezbollah on its northern border, and seeking to calm tensions in the West Bank. Now, Israel needs to strengthen its stance against Iran, while allies call for moderation. The Israeli society shows signs of exhaustion and resists the idea of another conflict. Meanwhile, life in the country continues as usual. Israeli leaders are faced with the challenge of balancing a show of strength with maintaining a fragile strategic alliance against Iran, a partnership that was crucial in blocking the recent attack and includes Arab nations such as Jordan. U.S. President Joe Biden urged Israel to proceed with caution and sought to align allies around a joint diplomatic response on Sunday. The Saturday incident highlighted the crucial alliance between Israel and the United States. Experts assert that this partnership will be decisive as Israel plans its next steps and seeks to leverage the international support it has received. In the weeks leading up to the Iranian attack, Israel faced intense international criticism due to the increase in civilian casualties in Gaza. According to analysts, while Israel's actions against Iran and Gaza may seem militarily disconnected, they are interconnected in the political landscape. Conservative support for the prime minister is frustrated by the absence of a ground offensive in Rafah. As a result, Netanyahu's followers are now pushing for a vigorous response against Iran. Israeli security experts indicate that the country has several retaliation strategies it could adopt without necessarily escalating the conflict or overburdening its forces. Among Israel's alternatives to counterattacking Iran are cyber attacks and surgical operations against key state facilities, such as Iranian oil infrastructure. Israel has already taken actions against Iranian targets linked to its nuclear program, usually without claiming responsibility, and could do so again, perhaps more explicitly. In addition to direct attacks on Iran, analysts suggest that Israel could also target Iranian allies in the region. It is unlikely that Israel will launch attacks against major Iranian nuclear facilities, as these are located in deeply underground areas, and an operation of this magnitude would require the backing of the United States, which has not been granted so far. In a recent statement, the United States ruled out involvement in retaliations. It is more likely that Israel will choose well-defined Iranian military targets based on detailed intelligence information, avoiding civilian and economic areas of Iran in any response. After many days of promising retaliation, Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, responded to the April 1st attack on the Iranian embassy complex in Damascus, where 7 Iranian military advisors were killed, including 3 senior commanders. In retaliation, the Islamic Republic launched over 300 drones and missiles from its territory towards Israel last Saturday. The vast majority of these were intercepted by Israeli or U.S. defenses, resulting in the death of only 1 person in Israel, a girl from a Bedouin community hit by shrapnel. The covert confrontation between Israel and Iran has been a well-known fact for decades. However, the recent attack stands out for 2 reasons: its direct nature and its lack of effectiveness. Iranian commanders surely anticipated that most of their 170 slow drones would be shot down before reaching the targets, serving more as a distraction maneuver. Surprisingly, even the 30 cruise missiles and 120 ballistic missiles launched caused very little damage. This episode should be a lesson to Iran about its technological limitations in direct confrontations with Israel. especially when the United States offers support to the Jewish state. If Israel decides to respond with direct attacks on Iranian territory, possibly targeting oil infrastructure, nuclear facilities, or military bases, it is likely that its targets will be hit with precision. The Israeli government is evaluating its options. Legally and morally, Israel has every right to defend itself and to strengthen its deterrent capacity, demonstrating to Iranian leaders that the cost of bringing the war out of the shadows into the light will be too high. However, prudence is also key. Israel already faces an ongoing war with Hamas in Gaza, and a direct attack on Iran could potentially start a full-scale conflict against Hezbollah in Lebanon or even Iran itself. Most Israelis realize that such a confrontation is inevitable and that it will be significantly more challenging than the current conflict in Gaza. The recent Iranian attack and the Biden administration's exemplary performance in protecting Israel appear to be a chance for Benjamin Netanyahu to revitalize tense relations with the United States and other Western nations by showing restraint. This behavior could also push the U.S. House of Representatives to approve the military assistance package for Ukraine and Israel, already ratified by the U.S. Senate in February. It would also give Israel the time it needs to neutralize the remaining Hamas forces in Gaza. An Israeli attack now would lose the element of surprise. Israel's superiority is not limited to technology. Its intelligence agencies are also more effective, as shown by the assassinations of Iranian nuclear scientists and senior officials, as well as the impressive theft of secret nuclear files from Tehran in 2018. The secretive conduct of this conflict keeps the Iranian government in a state of paranoia, vulnerability, and uncertainty, an effective strategy for destabilizing an adversary. However, this does not suggest that Israel should refrain from reacting. Israel will find the moment and the way to hit Iran where it hurts most. Iran, in turn, would likely react in a similar manner, regardless of the circumstances. Israeli diplomatic representations and civilians have always been at risk of Iranian attacks. This was reinforced on Thursday, when an Argentine court finally held Iran responsible for the 1994 bombing of a Jewish cultural center in Buenos Aires, which resulted in 85 deaths and hundreds of injuries. It does not imply in any way that Israel does not deserve President Joe Biden's unconditional support if it decides to retaliate. Ayatollah Khamenei likely considered the tensions between Israel and the West over Gaza when ordering the attack. The clear relationship between Israel and the U.S. often motivates provocative actions by common enemies of both countries. Biden, for political reasons, may want to avoid a comprehensive regional war in an election year. However, the most effective strategy to prevent this conflict would be to show the Iranians that they will not be able to divide Israel and the U.S. by instigating a war. The key decisions made in the past 50 years that have shaped the current Middle East landscape have a common root: the 1979 Islamic Revolution in Iran. This revolution established a despotic theocratic regime committed to spreading extremism, oppressing its people, annihilating Israel, and destabilizing the entire region for ideological reasons. Saturday's missile attack is just the most recent incident in a long, pernicious history. However, as they decide how to respond, the Israelis would do well to remember the saying that revenge is a dish best served cold.